Welcome to The Ordinary Effect. I'm your host, Guido Prino. This is the show where we talk about things that maybe we all notice, but maybe we don't talk about. And this week, I'm going to talk about what's going on here in Canada this upcoming weekend, which is the Junos, the awards. And I'm just wondering, do awards still matter? Is there an industry gap and perhaps an illusion of recognition? Look, there was a time when winning really mattered, not just in music and not just in entertainment, but in culture at large. A trophy wasn't just a trophy, hey, you participated. It was validation, it was arrival, it was the moment when the world looked and paid attention closely. And in Canada, that moment had and has a name, and that is the Junos. Now, every year that the Junos are held, the artists wait to step onto that stage, wait, hoping that their name is called, because when it is called, it means something. It means that the country is listening. That's what we believe all of these years of doing the Junos and other awards shows. But today we live in a world where over 100,000 songs are released almost every single day. If you think about that and let it sink in for a moment, that's not in a month and not in a year. A single day, 100,000 songs. So the question becomes, what does it actually mean to win anything anymore? As the Juno Awards return this year live from Hamilton, Ontario on Sunday, March 29th, we're forced to ask something that feels almost uncomfortable to maybe say out loud. Do awards still matter? You see, there was a time when scarcity created value. You didn't have unlimited access to music. You didn't have algorithms feeding you content every second. You had radio, you had record stores, you had gatekeepers. And because of that, recognition meant something. Now, you still have radio, you still have some form of record stores. You definitely still have gatekeepers to some degree who have made modifications. But if an artist was nominated, before it wasn't just luck. It really meant that they had broken through. But today we've replaced scarcity with saturation. Think about it. Everyone can release music. Everyone can distribute globally. And everyone has a platform. Now, that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's really an incredible thing. But here's the trade-off. Maybe no one talks about it either. When everything is available, nothing feels rare. And when nothing feels rare, recognition loses its weight. I mean, the reality is, I can make a song right now. A few chords, a few lyrics. It doesn't have to be good. I can distribute it. So can you. So can anyone. So, when someone wins a Juno today, is it still a defining moment? Or just another post in a social media feed? If we go deeper, because it's not just about the awards, it's about who gets seen and who doesn't. The music industry has always had structure. Labels, publicists, radio relationships, marketing budgets, to name a few things. And of course, award shows historically have reflected that structure. But today, there's an entire world of independent artists writing, producing, releasing, building audiences without ever touching that system. And yet, how often do they show up on award stages? There is a gap, not of talent, but of visibility. Because the truth is, there are artists out there right now with songs just as powerful, just as meaningful, just as culturally relevant, who will never be nominated. I know. I spin some of those artists on thepathradio.com weekly. Now, they'll never be nominated, not because they're not good enough, but because they're not positioned inside that system. So what are awards really recognizing? Excellence or exposure? And if it's exposure, then awards aren't measuring the best. They're measuring the most visible. Now, Canada has produced some of the biggest artists in the world. Drake, The Weeknd, Celine Dion, Justin Bieber. It's a long list. Global icons, global reach, global influence. But here's an uncomfortable question. Do we support Canadian music before it becomes global? Or do we wait until the rest of the world tells us it matters? Because award shows like the Junos are supposed to reflect Canadian culture. But do they? Or do they reflect a version of Canadian music that has already been validated elsewhere first? And where does that leave the emerging artist in Richmond Hill, in Hamilton, in small towns across Ontario and Canada who are trying to be heard? If we look forward, because something big is coming, the Academy Awards, arguably the most prestigious award show in the world, well, they have announced that starting in 2029, they will move exclusively to YouTube streaming. No traditional broadcast, no network television, just digital. And on the surface, it makes sense. That's where the audience is. That's where attention lives. But it raises a deeper question. What happens to the prestige when access becomes unlimited? Part of what made award shows special was the event. You had to tune in at a specific time on a specific channel. You watched it with friends, you watched it with family, there was food. You talked about what you liked and what you didn't like, and you all did it at a specific time. It felt shared and it felt important. But when something becomes just another stream, another video, another piece of content, does it lose its aura? And if the Oscars are making that move, then you have to wonder what other award shows will follow. Will the Junos follow? If they do follow, will it make them more accessible or less significant? Because accessibility doesn't always create value. Sometimes it dilutes it. Look, at the core of all of this is one idea. What does success actually look like anymore? Because, you see, there was a time when winning an award really did mean that you had arrived. But today artists can build careers without ever being nominated, without ever being played on radio even, without ever stepping on a stage like the Junos. So maybe the real shift isn't about awards losing relevance. Maybe it's about success no longer needing them. And that changes everything. So, do awards still matter? The answer isn't simple, because they still matter to the industry, to the people inside that industry, to the legacy. But to the audience, to the everyday listener, to the independent artist building something from nothing, they matter less. Not because they're broken, but because the world around them has changed. So, as the Junos take place this Sunday in Hamilton, the question isn't just who will win, it's what does winning even mean anymore? Is it validation or visibility? Is it recognition or just reinforcement of a system. And maybe the most important question of all in this, if nobody's watching, did it ever really matter? Thank you for joining me here on The Ordinary Effect. I'm your host, Guido Perino. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe so you can be with us on a regular basis. Again, thank you for listening and take care.